Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Well, it seems the book I've been reading, the Book of Signs, some are coming true now. And like last night, we have bombed Iran and using our um, bombs to destroy a lot of our a lot of Iran's nuclear facilities. So, and this is what I'm going to read the Book of Signs. University Covenant. Here we reach the overreaching, the reason for all the promises that we have study in God's covenant with Abraham. And you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. This is the root of God's promise to Abraham and his purpose in creating a new people for himself. Abraham's descendants were to become the respectable of God's glory, wisdom, love, and redemptive grace. The savings grace was the overflow from the Jews to the rest of the world. Through Abraham, God gave his written word to the world with the possibility exception of the Luke and Acts. Every book of the Bible was authored by Jewish writers. And through Abraham, God gave his sons to the world, blessing all humanity with a means of escaping of the grip of sin and death, that the blessings of Abraham might come upon Gentile in Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through the faith. All the other promises in God's covenant with Abraham are supportive of this one universe. Promise that affect every person who has ever lived. An eternal covenant. God's promise to Abraham comes in three stages. It was initially in Genesis, formalized in Genesis, and the emphasized in Genesis. Now, in Genesis 17, Abraham was approaching his 100th birthday, and his faith was frail. It had been nearly 25 years since his first encounter with the Lord. Then God appeared, reminding Abraham that his promise was a forever promise, eternal promise between me and you and your descendants. After you in the generation were everlasting covenant, to be God to you and your descendants after you. Also, I give you and your descendants after the land which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan as an everlasting possession, and I will be there, God. The promise of Abraham is everlasting promises because it is unconditional covenant based on the grace of severity and Almighty God. There is maybe delays, postponements, chastisement, but eternal covenant cannot be a bit by a God who can't deny himself. Why did God choose Israel? Well, when I first began studying the prophecy, I remember reading the offbeat little rhythm about Israel by British journalist William Norman Urr. How odd of God to choose the Jews. When you think about it, this periodic expressed a valid opposition. Does it seem a little odd that of all the people on earth, God selects these particular people to be his chosen nation? Why would God choose these Jews? The Bible tells us that his choice is Israel. Had nothing to do with merit. It was not because Israel was more numerous than other people in the world. It was lost. It was not because Israel was more sensitive to God than other nations. Israel did not know him. It was not because Israel was more righteous than the other nations. God called them rebellious, stiff-necked people. Then why did God choose Jews? The answer is because it was his region purpose to do so. During my years as pastor, I have asked many times whether I believe Israel return to its land fulfills all the biblical prophecy concerning its future. What people are really asking this. Now, Israel is restored to its land. This is the end. Many assume it is, but I have to tell them the answer is no. What is happening in Israel today is primarily the result of circular Zionist movement, where Ezekiel wrote about spiritual return of God, people to him. I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you, and because to walk in my status, and you'll keep my judgment and do them, then you shall dwell in the land that I give to your fathers. You shall be my people, and I will be your God. Ezekiel 36:24. The return of Jews to be refound nations of Israel, the first stage of regathering, but certainly does not fulfill the requirements of a spiritual return to the Lord. But we can be assured that it will happen just as God promised. I will pour on the house of David and the habit of Jerusalem the spirit of grace. Supply, then they will look on me whom they pierce. And so all Israel will be saved, as it is written. Deliverer will come out of Zion, and he will return. Oh, he will turn away ungodliness from Jacob, for this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. There are still two pivotal prophecies concerning Israel that I have not yet been fulfilled. Israel does not yet occupy all the land originally promised. It and its people have not yet turned to Christ. The numerous prophecies of Israel's return to the homeland were unexpectedly fulfilled in 1948 when Israel began to restore its land. This gives us assurance that full restoration is on the horizon, and the prophecies concerning Israel's return to God will also be fulfilled. As we wait for the fulfillment of those prophecies, Israel continues to grow as a nation against all odds. The people of Israel lead in the Middle East is productive. Wealth, order, and freedom in the military power. Yet those success increase, the nation become more and more isolated. Continually, Jason, continually terrorized by murderous hostiles of its surrounding neighbors. The most dramatic event lied ahead of us. Israel today is an island of less than 9 million immigrants surrounded by the seas of 300 million enemies. Many of them eager to wipe the tiny nation off the map from a pure human point of view. It will be seen inevitable that sooner or later Israel will be destroyed. Indeed, Israel has been attacked over and over. The Jewish people have survived by remaining vigilant, but the long for peace, according to the Bible, a future leader will fulfill the long by bookkeeping a peace deal with Israel enemies. But Scripture also tells us that this, as never before, peace plan won't be broken, and Israel will be attacked once again. This time, never before, countless armies will amass against this boxed-in nation, leaving it with no human hope of victory. Only Christ returns. His judgment, his reign, will finally bring true peace to Israel. It is then God's covenant with Abraham will reach its ultimate fulfillment. The Jews will return to the Lord, and they will be his people, and he will be their God. The borders of the land will expect to dimension described in Genesis 15 or Ezekiel 48. Christ's return will also fulfill the prophecy. God will gather the Jews. Behold, I will gather them out of all countries where I have driven them. I will bring them back to this place, and I will cause they will dwell safely. They shall be my people, and I will be their God. Ezekiel make it clear that this gathering means he will return every single living Jew back to the land. For he wrote that the Lord said he would gather them again to their own land, and none of them captive any longer. Today, we see the prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. In 2006, Israel became home of the largest Jewish community in the world. From 650,000 who returned when the Jewish state was founded in 1948, the population of Israel is expected to exceed 20 million by 2065. Israel reemerged in her ancient homeland, set the stage for the homeland. It's also significant in other ways. Pinpoint where we are on history timeline. As Milton B. Lindbergh pointed out, Milton B. Lindbergh pointed out, there you go, without the existence of the nations of Israel, we will not be able to say certainly that we are in the last days. The single event more than any other is the most prominent sign we are living in the final moments before the coming of Jesus. What does all this mean to me? The fulfillment of God's covenant with Abraham greatly affect every one of us. We have shown why it is important for our nations to continue support and protect Israel. Nations that befriend Israel will be blessed. Those that do not will be cursed. The playing out of prophecies event, certainly Israel also placed us in the last days of history timeline. The miraculous survival of God's covenant people, the Jews demonstrate God's ability to accomplish his purpose in the face of what seemed to be impossible odds. Existence of Israel today is Exhibit A. The Bible prophecy concerning the future will be fulfilled. This means the future is not only of Israel, but also our world, our nations, as well as your future and mine. Astounding history of Jews reveal the reality of God has overwhelming power. The authentic of his promise, the certainly of his existence, and urgent of his call to us, and his claims on our very being. That the historical day in 1948 will Israel was reestablished as a nation has been described as the most spectacular event, even nearly 2 millennium of Jews today. When President Truman read the statement, and the United States officially became the first nation to recognize the birth. The modern state of Israel, the 2,500-year-old prophecy of the Bible, was at last fulfillment. But hear the rest of the story. Later, when the chief rabbi of Israel, Isaac Herzog, called the White House, and he told Truman, God put you in your mother's womb so that you would be the instrument of being about the rebirth of Israel. After the 2,000 years, Truman reported that when he looked at Truman's after the rabbi's statement, tears were running down his cheeks. I was 7 years old when the nation of Israel was established in 1948. I believe the restoring of the Jews people to their land in the most important prophecy sign to have occurred in my lifetime. Many of them, any of the sign described in the book, the prophet future of nations of Israel, answer the question, is this the end? But even greater prophet fulfillment waits until unknown future day. The return of Jews, Massa to the Jews people, Messiah to the Jews people. I mean, Europe. When I was a teenager, Albert Einstein had a dream that likely changed the course of the science history. In the dream, Einstein was walking through a field when he noticed a group of cows far in the distance, all leaning against the electrical fence. The cows were enjoying the grass and had previously been out of their reach because of the fence. Beyond the cows, Einstein saw a farmer working near the opposite end of the fence, presumably fixing whatever had caused the loss of electricity. All of a sudden, Einstein saw the entire group of cows jump back from the fence at the same time, rightly assuming that the fence had been repaired. Einstein walked on. When he reached the farmer, Einstein commented how humorous it had been to see all the cows jump back at the same time, but the farmer was confused. He told Einstein that that's not what happened at all. From the perspective, the cows had jumped back one at a time, starting with the one closest to him. Upon waking in the dream, stay in Einstein's mind, in fact, continuing to remorse about that dream for decades. Eventually, his continual meditation on this subject became one of the factors that contribute his theory of general relativity. Can you imagine anyone having a more significant dream? That actually, I can. More than 2,000 years ago, God gave Daniel a vision that we recognize as the most comprehensive prophet insight ever received. God also sent similar dreams to most powerful man in the world at that time. Looking back, we can see the efforts of those dreams rippling through history, even in the future now. Daniel's interpretation for king. While it was not uncommon for God to communicate to his people through dreams or vision, it's outstanding that he gave the greatest vision of all times. Not only Daniel, but also to the one of the history's most wicked Gentile ruler, King Nuba. It was the second year of Nuba ruling over Babylon, although the king's enemies were subdued or captured. Nevertheless, with anxiety about the future, his anxiety stemmed from the dream sent to him by God, a nightmare that he could not understand through his sense of ominous of his dreams. So the king called his counselor, and since he had forgotten an important detail of the dream, he demanded that his counselor not only interpret the nightmare, but also give him the vivid description of it. Now, King demand was unperceived, and the counselor thought it was unfair. When they could not meet his demands, Nuba ordered the execution of all wise men in Babylon. When Jews captured Daniel heard of the king's edict, he and his friends asked God for a vision of Nuba. Dreams and interpretation. Daniel went to the executor and said, "Do not destroy that wise man of Babylon. Take me before the king. I will tell the king the interpretation of the dream." Daniel was soon standing in front of Nuba, who asked him if he could reveal the meaning of his dream. Daniel explained that he could not, but he had connections with someone who could. The secret which the king was demanding. The wise man and his astrologer of the stars, the person who looks at the stars, the magician and the soothsayer cannot declare to be the king, but there is a God in heaven who reveals the secret. He had made known to King Nuba that we will be in the later days. Your dreams and the vision of your head upon your bed were those. As Daniel explained, just as God had sent the dream to Nuba, God had also revealed the dream interpretation to Daniel. Then the Jews' prophet stood before the king and unfolded the future of his nation. Daniel describes the king's version. You, O king, were watching, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose splendor and was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. The image head of is fine gold, its chest of arms of silver, the belly of thigh of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Daniel told Nubis that his dream was about the kingdom of his world. He explained that the metallic image represents 4 successor Gentile world power that would rule over Israel in the days ahead. Daniel insight into the future. Through Daniel's God gave King Nuba a history of the remaining days of the world. We know this because he spoke significantly of days to come. He revealed the meaning of his stature of the 5 sections. In the head of gold, the beast in arms silver, the belly, thigh of copper, and the breast, the legs of iron, and the feet part iron and part clay. The world empire represents by the statue. Head of gold was Nubis, king of Babylon. Now, the word of king are clear. You, O king, are the King of Kings, for the gods of heaven was given you a kingdom, power, strength, glory, and whatever the children of the men dwelled, or the beasts of the field, and birds of heaven. He has given them into your hands, has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. Viewers would have understood that the head of gold referred to him, since the chief of Babylon was Marduk, whatever it is, known as the gold god's gold. The historian Hades described the image of Marduk as a dazzling sight. A gold statue sits on a golden throne before the golden table and the golden altar. Plenty tells us that the robe of Marduk priest was interlaced with gold. The Second World Empire revealed the King of Dreams was represented by the image of chest of silver, from which two silver arms emerged. This was Persian Empire, which conquered the Babylon in 539 BC, and remained in the power of approximately 200 years. Later, Daniel stated clearly the dual monarch of Midas and Persian would take control of Uba Empire. The two nations are again confirmed by Babylon's successor in Daniel. The Third World Empire was represented by the image, belly, and thought of bronze. Daniel told the king it would be kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over the earth. This is the Greek Empire, the kingdom of Philip Mardon and his son Alexander the Great. Not only does his history confirms Greece as empire that succeeds of the Persians, but Daniel named Greece, especially in Daniel, under Alexander the Greek Empire encompassed more territory than either of the previous empires. It was approached that this third kingdom was criticized by the image of bronze midsection. Alexander's soldiers armored themselves with bronze helmet and breastplate, and they carried bronze shield and sword. The Fourth Empire. In the image of the symbolized by the legs of iron, Daniel described this empire as strong as iron, and as much of iron breaks into pieces, shatters everything, and like iron that crushes, the kingdom will break into pieces and crush all those others. Historian tells us that Rome was not only the sister of the Greek Empire, but they often use iron to describe the strength of Roman Empire. Rome, iron rules. Now, Rome, iron fist. Rome, iron legions. History confirms Daniel's explanation as Nuba's dream. The Babylons were overthrown by the Persians, and the Persians were conquered by the Greeks, and then previous kingdom were assaulted into one kingdom, known as Roman Empire. This empire came into existence 50 years before Jesus was born, and continuing the power throughout his earthly ministry. It was Rome ruled that put Jesus on the cross. It was Rome who ruled ruthlessness during early days of the church. The fact that Rome represents the statue by its two iron legs and significantly. By AD 395, the Roman Empire had split into two politics area of rule. The West with its capital in Rome, and the East with the capital of Constantinople, or Turkey as of today, as we know it, Istanbul, which includes the land of Israel, The division of empire is depicted in the statue of two legs. The splitting of the mighty Roman Empire into two politics units was not the least division the kingdom or ought suffer. Daniel noted that in the king's dream, the feet and toes were composed of mixture of iron and clay. Through the position at the bottom of the image, those extremes were apparently important. Now, Daniel said as much about the feet and the toes he said about all the other parts of the image combined. Daniel explained to the king, meaning that the materials composing the image of feet, as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. They'll be mingle with the seeds of men, but they will not heed to any other, as just iron does not mix with clay. According to Daniel, there is to be yet another division in Roman Empire, symbolized by its 10 toes. Daniel foretells a time when the Roman Empire will consist of the 10 kingdoms of leaders. Since the downward movement from one section to the statue of the next representative of passage of time, the feet and toes stage must follow the leg stage, but we found nothing in the history that corresponds with tenfold Roman coalition that shows us the fifth and final feet and toe tangle stage. Kingdom is yet to perform its described role in the human history. Daniel gives us another piece of information that enables us to understand the timing of the event of Nuba's dream. He tells us that his final form of Roman Empire will exist when God sets up his earthly kingdom. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break pieces in consuming all those kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Daniel's intense dream. Years after Noah's dream of image, Daniel has a vision of his own expand our understanding of Noah's dream. In Daniel's version, the power of wind stirs the ocean, and four great beasts comes up from the seas, each different from the other. The beast represents the Gentile kingdom as this depicted of the king's dream. And this time the character of those kingdom was revealed the first vision, Daniel 2, portrayal of the kingdom of world as a man accused them majestic, massive, impressive, and their accomplishments. In the second vision, the king were shown the savage beasts attacking one another and fighting to the death. The second vision gives us God's appraisal of these kingdoms. Destructive, dissensive, cruelty. While the two versions were different in their presentation, both were giving for one same purpose, to show Daniel and his people what in the world was going on. Why did God choose a particular time to reveal so great prophecies? As people were in desperate moment of history, Syria had taken the northern king of Israel, captured in 722 BC. And 200 years later, the southern kingdom of Judea was captured by Babylon. If you had been a Jew during that time, you might have wondered, is God finished with us? Through those two visions, God assured his people, this isn't the end. There will be a time when I will announce again, be involved with you and as a nation. But I want you to understand, I know what will happen between now and then. Much of it was revealed to Daniel. Those dreams had already happened, but not all of it. 3 of the prophecies the kingdom has come and gone. The fourth kingdom has also made appearance in history, but Daniel's later version include additional information about the events yet in the future. Let's take out how Daniel describes it. I saw in the night vision, and behold, the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had a huge iron teeth. It was devastating, breaking into pieces, crumpling the side with its feet. It was difficult from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Daniel explained that the 10 horns are 10 kings who will arise from this kingdom. We know that this 10 kingdom prophecy of Daniel remains in the future because not only he was the 10th leader of the Roman Empire not exist, but such a kingdom has become suddenly crushed, as Daniel 2 indicated it will be. The Roman Empire of Jesus' day did not end suddenly. It generally declined over many countries until the Western Roman Empire fell, AD 476, and the eastern part of Byzantine Empire, Empire fell in AD 1453. We must conclude, then, that some of the Roman Empire must emerge end of times. According to Daniel, it will place prior to coming Jesus to the region over the earth. Well, I'm going to stop there. The next one is Rebirth of the Roman Empire. So, how before Trump became president of the United States in first term, and God showed me what would come under this president. He showed me war will start, fire on land. So it has happening to it in his second term. That World War III has begun. We have started a war. And now the book does talk about Russia. And since Russia helps Iran, pretty much, so we will have to be watching Russia and China and North Korea at the same time. So since they get supplies from Russia and they supply Russia, and we'll have to see what happens. Hey, thanks for all coming. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys a little later. Bye now.